advice often comes from those who have walked the path before us. Welcome to episode 5 of our podcast series. My name is Hitesh Motwani, and today our guest is Mr. Dayesh Angle, sir. Sir is a finance executive with over 25 years of industry experience. As a CFO Next 100 award winner, Sir specializes in strategic planning and delivering profitable growth through data-driven insights. In this conversation, we'll unpack the journey from his academic days at Tech5 to a finance executive, the transition from campus to corporate, and the educational foundations that have shaped his 25-year-old career. Let's begin. Very good morning, sir. We are very happy to have you here after 3 years for a podcast. Let's begin with the podcast.
From the first batch of IBS Pune that passed out in 1998, and it is similar to the second batch for IBS overall, right? So over the last 25 odd years of experience, I've done multiple roles in the finance domain across FP&A, business finance, commercial finance, controllership, and taxation, accounting, pricing, investor relations. So I've been fortunate enough to do a lot of those roles, right? And had a chance to work with different types of companies, with the multinational like IBM or Indian companies like Birlasoft. Been fortunate enough to do a lot of those roles, right? So that's a bit of my background, if I may say so.
Sure, sir. So can you share your journey from your academic days to the first role in the corporate world? So what motivated you to pursue a career in finance particularly?
Good question. Honestly, when I joined IBS, Hitesh, I did not intend to pursue a career in finance. I intend to pursue a career in marketing. I came with an engineering background, so obviously there was natural flair for getting into marketing. But as the course progressed, and this course was also combined with the CFA program of ICFAI, so which also allowed me to pursue courses in finance. And at the same time, when you're doing engineering, there's a lot of focus on problem solving, because there are concepts of finance which get introduced at some stage in the engineering career that had given me some inkling in my career towards finance. And I was also doing summer internship with a project engineering company in the business development department. So actually I'd asked for project in marketing, and business development is what they named the marketing function as. And my project was more to do with reviewing all the commercials of all the new bids that they were doing in the market. When you were to go and do a bidding, you would obviously give the commercials also, right? Saying that, this project will cost certain X amount of crores. So I had to do backup working of all those things, check the quotations are correct or not correct, check whether the terms and conditions are correct or not correct. So it was more of a techno-commercial role, which meant a lot of finance was actually involved. And my belief at that time came from the fact that unless you had enough finance knowledge, you couldn't be a good marketing person or be good at any other field in the management side. And that honestly made me look at finance as a more structured career. So that was my background about taking finance as a career, and certainly I've enjoyed every year of my finance career over the number of years. So when I transitioned from campus to a corporate, obviously you come with a very different background, even though you never worked before in the past, or rather your peers have been somebody with whom you have done same kind of work, right? So when you enter a corporate, you realize that the environment around you is very different. You have different types of people working with you. Maybe people who are far more experienced than you. You may be probably entering the corporate life in the early 20s, but there are people who work for 5 years or 10 years or 15 years in the industry, if not the same company. And therefore, so while you may claim you have better knowledge than them, they come with far more practical experience, right? So that adjustment is extremely important. You have to adjust not just to the corporate culture, but at the same time provide respect to the views of your peers and colleagues and seniors. So I would say that was a bit of a baptism when you enter, and you have to take your time. I know all of us would like to impress because we are fresh, we are raw, we're new, but you need to take your time, right? Because in corporate, you realize there are many people who are also driven by targets. They're all motivated to perform well in the organization. So you're one among the many people who are working in the corporate side, not the only one or few ones.
Absolutely. So Rightly so that you highlighted the unexpected challenges also that you faced and how did you overcome them. So that was a really great insight. Moving ahead, how did your education at ICFI in particular prepare you for the dynamic roles that you highlighted and you have undertaken in your career?
I will say a lot of my experiences got to do with the good academic background that I got in IBS or ICFI. As I mentioned to earlier, when I joined, we had the flexibility of pursuing CFA along with the MBA program. So while in finance, the subjects were the same, it only helped us because the CFA MBA program was far more detailed in terms of the curriculum, etc. In fact, it was then called out among the best syllabus compared to a lot of IIMs also, right? So very very deep syllabus, giving you exposure to different areas of finance, into different details of finance. I mean, you may not feel that you require to do all of it, but at some point of time, in different parts of career, you'll need to apply those concepts. So that helped me very well, and especially while I spent some time as a management trainee with a financial services organization called Tata Finance. I later on moved to a company called DGP Hinode, where I got actual exposure to doing a lot of work in finance and management, accounting, managing P&L. So I had to get very familiar with all the concepts of P&L, how P&L works, what cost really means, how does the cost really move. So while you may know the concepts, you need to know how to apply them as well. Right? How do you use the ratios, and how do you? It's not a question of using the ratios, but how do you actually interpret the ratios, right? And what actions and insights you can give to your leadership and management in terms of ratios. Similarly, working with banks, understanding banking ratios, because if you're going to borrow from banks, banks look at your credit standing, so you understand what does a bank really need from you for considering for giving a loan, whether it's a short-term working capital loan or whether it's a long-term loan for sustaining or funding capital expenditure. A lot of that knowledge from IBS days was very very handy in those days.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir. That was a really great insight, I would say. So, moving on to another segment that of this podcast in particular is the quick fire segment. So, I'll just ask you a quick question, and just need to reply to very concisely with respect to it.
Sure.
So, the first question in the quick fire segment is that what is the one campus habit that has benefited you in the corporate life?
Being very very regular to classroom, right? Sometimes we tend to take it for granted. Oh, I don't need to go and attend class for this subject, this faculty is not good, that faculty isn't good. But I refrained from making those kind of judgments. I tried to attend as much classes as possible. So that made me very regular, and that habit, when you start using in office, also helps you a lot in being regular, being punctual to office in time. So you're able to manage your time well at the same time, and plus you are showing respect to the workplace or the organization you are a part of.
True, sir. The next question is a book. If you could mention a book that has significantly influenced your professional thinking.
I would say a book by Stephen Covey with the name of Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. I think it's an extremely good book, extremely commonsensical book, very easy to understand. But those concepts that he's talking about, seven habits, if you are able to practice them day in day out, that will help you a lot. And as I said, there are no difficult habits, right? Being proactive, for example, it's probably you have to do it yourself, right? You don't have to have someone telling you to be proactive. It's a thing that you develop, or we even begin with the end in mind. So really, when you work life, you decide, well, what is that I'm going to achieve, right? Whether it's short-term objective or long-term objective, and then start working backwards. Say, okay, what do I need to do? Which means a lot of planning is involved in your work. So it's a fantastic book. I would recommend to most of you to read it in your spare time. Fantastic book.
Certainly, sir. I would definitely agree with you on that point. That is very particularly, I would say, that book in particular is very, I would say, in talks, particularly among Gen Zs. So, the next question is that what is one soft skill that you consider crucial for your corporate success?
Communication skills. I think it's extremely important at different phases of your career, different phases in organization. You need to communicate to different people in different ways, right? Communication is not one size fits all, but that's something you learn over a period of time. I don't believe all of us are born with great communication skills, nor that we are polished completely in the campus. A lot of things come from experience. So while you make a lot of effort, and the institute also makes a lot of effort to train you in communication skills, I think all of us need to take that part very, very seriously, right? And today, probably you are more exposed to social media. We didn't have social media or anything of that kind. Therefore, it becomes even more conscious on everybody's parts to ensure that we learn the right communication skills, that we are able to communicate effectively and proactively, and get the message across.
Yes, sir. Just drawing from that, the other side of the coin also. So, what is your go-to strategy for staying updated with the industry trends in particular? So, you highlighted about communication. Industry trends also play an important role. So, what is your go-to strategy for it?
I would say I'm a very old-fashioned person. I read trend. I ensure that I read a copy of the Economic Times every day in the morning. I think it's a habit I call. In fact, cultivated during my IBS days. I would, subscribe a copy of Economic Times in the hostel where I stayed. But that's a habit that has stayed with me. So at least read everything, and you're able to relate, right? What I realized is, even when during college days, when I was reading, I was able to relate to the concepts that were taught in our classrooms, and that helped me. So I've stuck onto that. Obviously, today you have a lot more online media available. If you stay on LinkedIn, you get to read a lot of articles, not just views and thoughts of different people, but a lot of articles get published. Or you can subscribe to magazines, etc. I also subscribe to some of the courses on Coursera, kind of educational platforms to keep myself updated.
Certainly, sir. And just the concluding question, if I was to ask, what is one word that would encapsulate your professional journey, the entire journey? If there was just one word, if you would describe.
Probably I would say focus. I think I brought that stay a lot focused in my career, in what I wanted to do, how I wanted to go about it. Only when you're able to stay focused, you are more clear in terms of what you want to achieve, Hitesh. And therefore that gives you the inspiration or the background to work on those steps. So I would say focus is one word I will attribute to myself.
Certainly, sir. I would agree as well. And thank you so much, sir. This was a really great podcast. This short, concise, but so impactful and so knowledgeable. So thank you so much, sir, for your time.
Thank you so much for having me over, Hitesh. We're very, very excited always to be part of anything that IBS does. Thank you so
Sure,
much. Have
sir.
a good day.
Thank you, sir.